Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to the channel. This Saturday is UFC 279, and in the main event, you have Khamzat Chimaev versus Nate Diaz, and this is going to be my full breakdown and prediction. To be honest, this fight doesn't deserve to be a main event, and if you followed my channel at all, you know I'm not a huge fan of this main event in general. But for this video, I'm going to try to be as realistically positive as possible because this is a fight of a lot of importance. Khamzat Chimaev has arguably already earned a welterweight title shot. He has a lot of hype behind him. And if he goes out there and loses to Nate Diaz, who's on the tail end of his UFC career, that would be catastrophic. And for Nate Diaz, the UFC has vindictively booked him against a killer like Khamzat Chimaev, who's ranked in the top 5 of the welterweight division. And this is his last fight on his deal. The reason the UFC made this matchup is because Nate Diaz refused to re-sign with the UFC. And so this could very well be the last UFC fight in the career of Nate Diaz. And if Nate Diaz somehow pulls off a victory against Khamzat Chimaev, it would be an absolute shocker. And it would be a real FU to Dana White and the UFC. And after that, Nate Diaz could pretty much demand whatever he wanted from another promotion or from the UFC if he goes out there and gets the upset over Khamzat Chimaev. And later in the video, when I give my official prediction, I'm going to give you 2 paths to victory for Nate Diaz in this fight. So you look at the tail of the tape for this fight. Chimaev is 11-0. Diaz is 20-13. Chimaev is ranked number 3 in the welterweight division. Diaz is not ranked anywhere. Chimaev is 28. Diaz is 37. Chimaev is 6'2". Diaz is 6 foot. Chimaev has a 75-inch reach, and Diaz has a 76-inch reach. So a 9-year youth advantage and a 2-inch height advantage for Khamzat Chimaev. If you look at Nate Diaz's pro MMA career, of his 20 wins, he's won 5 by knockout, 11 by submission, and 4 by decision. And of his 13 losses, he's lost 2 by knockout, but one of those was a TKO via doctor stoppage against Jorge Masvidal, which we'll talk about in a second. 1 was by submission and 10 by decision. So when Nate Diaz loses, he tends to lose by decision. And Nate Diaz has 26 fights in the UFC alone. He's been in the UFC since 2007, which is just absolutely incredible that you think about that. 15 years in the UFC. His last fight was against Leon Edwards in June of 2021 at UFC 263. And Leon Edwards dominated him in this fight, outside of the last minute where Nate Diaz rocks him. And he taunts him for like 10 or 15 seconds after that. And had he not taunted him, I thought there was a legitimate chance that Nate Diaz could have finished him in that 5th round. And this was the first ever non-title, non-main event that was 5 rounds. And the fact that Nate Diaz almost stopped Leon Edwards with 1 minute to go, that would have been absolutely insane. But at the end of the day, he lost the fight and he got dominated in this fight. He got out-grappled, outstruck, and just beat up from almost bell to bell in this fight. The fight before that, he fought at UFC 244 against Jorge Masvidal. He got beat up pretty badly in this fight, got a massive cut above his eye, and it was a doctor stoppage. Some people complained about it, but at the end of the day, I saw what I needed to see. Jorge Masvidal was really beating him up, and I don't think it would have gone well for Nate Diaz. I don't think he was coming back in this fight. The fight before that was against Anthony Pettis at UFC 241. This is in August of 2019. He beat Anthony Pettis, pressed him up against the cage, out-grappled him, outstruck him. But Anthony Pettis was kind of on the way out the door at the time. Before that was a loss to Conor McGregor at UFC 202, which I believe that he actually won. It was a close fight. He lost by decision. But I thought Nate Diaz should have got the decision there. And then the fight before that at UFC 196, he upsets Conor McGregor. I actually picked Nate Diaz in this fight. I thought Nate Diaz was a perfect recipe to defeat Conor McGregor. And I know it happened at 170, but that's because Nate Diaz took this fight on like a week or two's notice, and he couldn't cut weight. Nate Diaz is not a true 170-pounder, and he went out there, he took some damage from Conor McGregor in the 1st round, and then he started to dish some back in the 2nd round. Rocks Conor. Conor looks for the takedown. Once they get to the ground, Nate Diaz just dominates him and eventually gets the rear naked choke. And a lot of people are comparing this Conor McGregor fight to the Khamzat Chimaev fight because a lot of people thought Nate was going to get destroyed John Anik has a tattoo because he thought that Conor McGregor was going to destroy Nate Diaz. That's how much people counted him out. And so people are using that as an argument in this fight against Khamzat Chimaev. A couple other fights I want to mention. Rafael Dos Anjos back in 2014. He got dominated. He got out-grappled in this fight. And he also had a title shot against Benson Henderson. A lot of people don't realize Nate Diaz has fought for the lightweight title before, back in 2012. And he got out-grappled by Benson Henderson. He used to fight at welterweight. He had a stint at welterweight. And one fight that I do remember and I want to point out was against Rory McDonald at UFC 129, and he just got dominated in the grappling. He got suplexed over and over again by Rory McDonald, and he didn't have a lot of success at welterweight. Moving over to Khamzat Chimaev, he has 11 pro MMA fights and 11 victories. Of those 11 victories, he's won 6 by knockout, 4 by submission, and 1 by decision. Khamzat Chimaev is an interesting case because there is so much hype behind him, and there has been so much hype around him, but he just got his first really solid victory for the amount of hype that was behind Khamzat Chimaev. His last fight was against Gilbert Burns at UFC 273, April of this year, and this was the big test for Khamzat Chimaev. He's fighting a top 5 ranked guy in the welterweight division, and a lot of people came out of this fight and said Khamzat Chimaev got exposed. I do not believe that Khamzat Chimaev got exposed in this fight. For me, I thought Khamzat looked really good. I was very high on his skill set. But up until this point, he hadn't really been tested against the elite of the elite. I was more of a believer in him after he beat Li Jingliang. But at the same time, I still need to see him tested against the elite of the elite in the division. And in this fight, he proved, even if you thought he lost this fight, he proved he could hang with elite welterweights. Gilbert Burns is very, very good. And Chimaev went out there, took him down when he wanted to take him down. I know Gilbert Burns worked his way back to his feet. But in this fight, I believe Khamzat Chimaev made a conscious decision to strike with Gilbert Burns. It's almost like he wanted to get the reps in because he was taking him down. Gilbert was getting back up, but Khamzat was always having success with the takedown when he wanted it. But it just seemed like he wanted to strike with him. In the first round, he was beating Gilbert up. He took him down a couple times. He dropped him with a jab. He almost finished him. Gilbert survived. The fight was just absolute mayhem. If you haven't seen that fight, go back and watch it. Second round, Khamzat came out like, he was going to have no respect for Gilbert Burns in that second round because of the way the first round went. And he gets hit with some big shots from Gilbert Burns, gets dropped in this round, loses the second round, then comes out more measured in the third round, and just beats Gilbert Burns up a little bit more. Some people debate about the third round. I thought Khamzat Chimaev took it, landed way more shots, stung Gilbert Burns multiple times. He got hit with some shots of his own, but I thought Khamzat Chimaev faced adversity in that second round and came out and won the third round. Looked a little bit more technical than he did. And a lot of people questioned the gas tank of Khamzat Chimaev in this fight. The output in this fight was insane. So I really don't think the gas tank of Khamzat can really be questioned because of the output. The fight before that was against Li Jingliang. Li Jingliang is not the elite of the elite, but he is a solid welterweight. He's a top 15 welterweight. Khamzat went out there at UFC 267 October of last year and dominated him. Grabbed him, carried him over to Dana White while talking to Dana White, took him down in the first round and got a rear naked choke. Choked Li Jingliang out in the first round and just made it look easy. Didn't get touched in this fight. And that was a solid win. Li Jingliang is not an easy fight by any means. And compared to the competition that Khamzat Chimaev was fighting before then, I mean, this was a big step up. I mean, Gerald Meerschaert, that win has aged well. That's a decent win. But I believe Li Jingliang is a massive step ahead Gerald Meerschaert. And in the Gerald Meerschaert fight, which has aged beautifully because Gerald Meerschaert's been getting, win after win, picture perfect right hand, first round, sleeps Gerald Meerschaert. And then before that, his other 2 UFC wins were just basically, garbage cans. I hate to say that, but, it just wasn't the best competition in his 2 fights before that. But he dominated them, finished Reese McKee in the first round, who's no longer in the UFC, and finished John Phillips in the second round. Dominant performances. Every fight that Khamzat Chimaev has had in the UFC has been a dominant performance outside of the Gilbert Burns fight. So when I look at this matchup and I look at it skill for skill, there's not a lot of advantages I see for Nate Diaz. Durability, maybe, but Khamzat Chimaev showed in the Gilbert Burns fight, he has a hell of a chin. I mean, Gilbert Burns has good, solid power and landed nasty with a massive right hook, threw his whole body into it, and he dropped Khamzat, but Khamzat was able to survive. He's very durable as well. And you look at speed, I think Khamzat Chimaev is the faster fighter. You look at striking, I honestly think in that Gilbert Burns fight, Khamzat showed some solid striking. I know he got a little bit careless in the second round and, even a little bit towards the second half of the first round. But I just think he was overconfident and he thought he was going to finish Gilbert Burns, and that's why he got so aggressive, because even against Gilbert Burns in that third round, he was rolling with some shots good. He had some solid defense in that third round as well. And I just don't think people say he got exposed. I think he showed that he has some amazing skills. And, I struggled to find advantages for Nate Diaz. The only real advantage I see for Nate Diaz is his stamina. And a lot of people talk about, can he weather the early storm and then come back in the fourth, fifth round and finish Khamzat Chimaev? That's the big what if floating around. So for my official prediction, I am going to go Khamzat Chimaev first round TKO. I'm even going to give a very specific prediction. I'm going to say 3 minutes and 37 seconds into the first round, Khamzat Chimaev is going to be peeled off of Nate Diaz, winning via TKO. And I just struggle to find advantages for Nate Diaz in this fight. And you go back and you look over the course of his career, he's always had trouble with grapplers, even in his prime. I believe Nate Diaz is past his prime. Khamzat Chimaev is a dominant grappler. He has his way with guys who are very good grapplers themselves. Let me put it this way. Gilbert Burns would ragdoll Nate Diaz badly. And Khamzat Chimaev was able to take him down multiple times. And every time Gilbert Burns attempted a takedown on Khamzat Chimaev, it was stuffed with ease. I mean, it looked like Gilbert Burns was trying to take down a brick wall because he had absolutely no success. And he shot 3 or 4 times on Khamzat, had no success at all. So I struggle to find Nate Diaz winning this fight. I think what's going to happen, I think Khamzat Chimaev is going to come out. I think he's going to strike for maybe 20, 30 seconds, 45 seconds, the first minute of the fight. Khamzat Chimaev has a very good jab. He has more power than Nate Diaz. And another thing that I picked up on in that Gilbert Burns fight, Khamzat Chimaev has nasty leg kicks. And he's constantly switching stances as well. I think he's going to come out. I think he's going to be chopping the legs of Nate Diaz. I think he's going to be pumping the jab. And I think, 30 seconds in, 45 seconds in, he's going to shoot on Nate Diaz. And I know people say, oh, the submission threat of Nate Diaz. It's not going to happen, guys. It's not going to happen. Kamaru Usman was scared to take down Gilbert Burns because he was worried about the submission threat and the jiu-jitsu of Gilbert Burns. Khamzat Chimaev did not care. Khamzat Chimaev has elite level jiu-jitsu. He's shown with some of these other guys, he gets them down, he dominates them and submits them. Look what he did to Li Jingliang. Look what he's done to some other competition, not the greatest competition, but as dominant as he is, I don't think he's getting submitted by Nate Diaz. It's not happening. I think he's going to be the bigger, stronger fighter. I think he's going to dominate him on the ground. I think he's going to full mount Nate Diaz and beat the living crap out of Nate Diaz. And I think he's going to beat him up so badly, it's going to be a first round stoppage. I really don't think he's going to meet any resistance at all. And I think it's going to be a first round TKO ground and pound victory for Khamzat Chimaev. I just struggle to see where Nate wins this fight. As far as paths to victory, there's only 2 paths to victory I could come up with. If Khamzat Chimaev somehow injures himself while beating up Nate Diaz and ends up getting stopped. We saw in the John Jones-Chael Sonnen fight, John Jones dominated him, but he broke his toe. Luckily, he TKO'd him before the end of the round. But had he not TKO'd Chael Sonnen, in between rounds, it would have been stopped because of the broken toe. The bone was sticking out of the skin. It would have been stopped. If something like that happens to Khamzat Chimaev, he breaks his arm, blocking a kick, not that Nate Diaz throws any high kicks or anything like that. And that's the only way, really, I see Nate Diaz winning. The other path to victory, and I think this is very unlikely, is the other one that everyone's saying. Nate Diaz weathers the early storm. I just don't think he'll be able to. And in the 4th or 5th round, Nate Diaz is just coming on strong, and Khamzat Chimaev is exhausted, and somehow he TKOs Khamzat Chimaev in the 4th or 5th round. I don't think it's likely. I think Khamzat is going to have his way with him in the grappling. I think he's going to beat him up in the striking as well. Even if Khamzat decides to strike, I think Khamzat will outstrike Nate Diaz. I really do. I think he'll be pumping the jab, chopping the legs, beating up the body. Khamzat Chimaev has great body kicks as well, hard body kicks. And I just think this is a massive mismatch because of the massive size disadvantage for Nate Diaz and the grappling differential between these two guys. Khamzat is going to dump him on his head with ease. The only reason this fight will be standing is if Khamzat Chimaev decides to keep it standing. So I really don't think Khamzat's going to gas himself out. I think he'll find the finish early. I could also see maybe Nate Diaz survive in the 1st round, and maybe we get a doctor stoppage in between rounds, because Khamzat, mark my words, regardless of if Khamzat gets the 1st round finish or not, I believe that Nate Diaz will be cut up at the end of the 1st round. I believe he will, and he's got a lot of scar tissue, and I could totally see a doctor stoppage in between rounds. But who knows? Maybe we'll witness the craziest moment in UFC history, and we'll see Nate Diaz pull it off. But I highly doubt it. I think Khamzat Chimaev wins this fight with ease, and I think that he's going to go out there with a sense of urgency in this fight, because Dana White in UFC has probably told him behind closed doors, go out there and devalue Nate Diaz as much as you physically can. We want you to stop him as quick as possible and make it look as easy as possible as retribution from Dana White in the UFC for Nate Diaz refusing to sign that contract extension. So anyway, guys, let me know what you think down in the comments. Is anybody picking Nate Diaz? Don't forget to like the video, and thank you so much for watching.